But I sat down in there, and this Vietnamese gentleman, Brandon, found out we were from Westminster, and he told us he graduated in '81. I was very lucky. I planned on being a teacher my whole life.
Okay, so you knew you wanted to be a teacher.
I wanted to be a teacher, yes.
So what pulled you toward being a teacher?
Yeah, I don't mean to put down anybody, but a lot
you can be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. A lot of these students are becoming, I hate to say the term Americanized. Remember when I had students with, they got a B+ on an exam, they were scared their parents and teachers would both be disappointed in them. Now they've become Americanized, and they've realized that, you know, a C or a B is okay.
Oh, I see. Okay, Jim.
Did you get the story about me meeting my wife here?
Oh, yeah. So...
Okay, good.
Alright, kính khán giả, một lần nữa trở lại chương trình Passport to thành công, và hôm nay Khang có cơ hội Khang ngồi nói chuyện. Đặc biệt một người bạn của Khang, một người chỗ làm của Khang, một người thầy giáo cũ của Khang luôn, đã dạy 30 năm, đó là 30 years of teaching. Và hôm nay Khang muốn cho mọi người được một cái cơ hội hiểu về một cái hành trình làm thầy giáo 30 năm, những gì đã xảy ra và cái sự suy nghĩ và những cái gì mà đã thúc đẩy ông ta tiếp tục dạy 30 năm. 30 năm là rất là lâu nè mọi người. Ok, và Khang sẽ giới thiệu đây là ông giáo trường trung học Westminster High School Jim Mancini.
I'm jealous, Khang. How do you speak all those words? They're all one syllable. How do you do that?
Well, you were born with it, so it just became part of you.
I'm Jim Mancini. I've been going to this school since 1971. When I was 8 years old, they had Westminster Sea Lions. And then my brothers graduated from here. My father graduated from here. My wife graduated from here. And this is my 31st year teaching at Westminster High School.
So you were here as a high school student?
I was born in Westminster at Westminster Hospital, and I've never moved or lived anyplace
Westminster
else.
Hospital, where is that?
That's closed up now. It's so old. It's hidden.
You remember the street?
Yeah, it's on Beach Boulevard in between Westminster and there's a little side street. I forget what it's called. But it's hidden back in a residential area.
Is it near the DMV?
Well, yeah, it's behind sort of the DMV.
Yeah.
Sort of,
I think now they have like a senior home.
It's a senior living assistant place, yes, exactly.
So you were saying about like Westminster Sea Lions,
so the aquatic team.
Can you clarify what is the Westminster?
It was for kids to learn how to swim and be part of a swim team.
I
so
see.
It was all kids like from 5 to 12. There would be 70 or 80 kids there at every practice.
Okay.
They'd both be learning how to swim and be part of the swim team here at Westminster High School.
I see. But it's still Westminster High School Lion.
Right.
Yeah. So you technically grew up in Westminster.
Yes.
So how was Westminster back in the day compared now? Can you give it a visual? The
visual is like next to Warner Junior High School were hundreds of cows. There was a dairy farm there.
Okay, which is Newland and Westminster.
Right. And you would pull up in your car, and it was outdoor, and you'd say, I need 2 gallons of milk and a dozen eggs, and they would hand them to your car, and you would pay them, and they would give you the money back.
Is that the museum right now? I think it's converted to a museum, like a farm.
Yes.
I think it's like a church.
A church.
If you drive on Westminster and Newland, you see there's like a church, but they still have like all these farm equipment in front.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and there were strawberry fields, there was orange trees. You actually saw a number of places with cows and stuff.
I see.
Yeah.
So how was the community back then? Like, what was the demographic of, well, they probably, so this was
When I graduated here, it was 1981. When I started in 1977, it was the first Vietnamese here.
Okay.
And I got a great story to tell you about that.
Okay, go ahead.
On Brookhurst, there's a little restaurant called Artist.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a crawfish.
Yeah.
That's the one you share with me. That
I love this story though. Because we were going there to watch the MMA fights on the TV, and we heard it was a good restaurant. But I sat down in there, and this Vietnamese gentleman, Brandon, found out we were from Westminster, and he told us he graduated in 81. And sure enough, we sat there, and his friend next to him actually knew us, and I recognized their names.
Oh, I see.
And stuff like this. So we spent the whole night talking and stuff. And sure enough, I went home, and sure enough, in the yearbook, Brandon knew when.
Oh, I see.
So we random met a guy 50 years old like Melody and I that we graduated from, and they were the very first
Okay.
Vietnamese.
So he was probably like the boat people.
Right,
that came-
that's what they were named, honestly,
Yeah.
the boat people,
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
So when you were at Westminster High as a student, there were probably only a few Vietnamese.
Maybe, like you, good point, King, maybe 20 Vietnamese students here.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was their English and stuff? Were they?
Very, very limited.
Okay.
Much more heavy accent than the students have here because they had heard no English.
Yeah. Because I know like the first wave of Vietnamese, they tend to be more the educated family and stuff.
Yeah, they
So,
were probably
in the
more
70s
well-to-do to be able to come over here then too. There was a lot more Spanish students then.
At Westminster High.
Yeah, because they'd been coming over for
Yeah.
years before the Vietnamese came over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you born here? I forgot you said.
Born in
you-
Westminster Hospital.
That was 1963.
63. Yeah.
And then you.
I've
Do
grown
you
up here
remember the
all my
middle
life.
school, the elementary school?
Hayden.
Hayden's still there.
Yeah, Hayden's still there.
Still there.
Warner's still there.
You went
And-
Warner too?
Yeah, and there was a school on Newland and Hazard called Midway City.
Okay.
Another
it's not-
elementary school.
Probably
It's all
Anderson.
houses now.
Oh, okay. So they closed the school.
Yeah, they closed the school and they
Yeah.
built houses there. Yeah.
And you said you were living in.
Well, I lived on Hazard between Magnolia and Newland. Yeah.
So what do you enjoy most when you were young, living in Westminster? What were you like? What was a day like for before all these technology that we have?
Oh, before the technology now, I'll never forget this, especially during the summer and the weekends. If you wanted to use the soccer field, the football field, the baseball field, you and your friends had to get to the park by 6 o'clock, or there'd be other kids there and they claimed it theirs.
I see.
So kids would get up early and get to the park so they would have the field to play with and stuff like that. Yeah.
Is that what you do every day? Just play
Oh,
sport?
Yeah. And everybody was walking to school then, riding a bike, skateboarding. There would rarely be a parent here picking up a student, okay? Like wrestling practice would get over or the football practice. You'd see all these kids carrying their gear, getting on their bikes, riding their bike home, skateboarding home,
see.
things like that. Yeah.
So, and then your year at Westminster High, what did you do? How was it?
It was a big step then, and I still think it is for all the freshmen going from middle school to your first year here at high school. But you were given lockers. All the, like what we call the bowling alley, you all had a class locker to keep your textbooks
Yeah.
in, and then you had a gym locker to keep your
For
clothes
PE.
in. Yeah.
I believe the locker was, because when I started school here in 99, I believe the locker was in the K building, right?
Well, every
Because I remember they still
bowling
had
alley
it
was a different set of lockers, and you were given a locker number and a combination.
there. Yes.
And in between classes, you'd put your history book away in there, get your math textbook out.
It's kind of one of those TV show where
Yeah, where you
people-
see them go to their
high
locker.
school.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they joke about it on TV show, finding bad things in the student's locker. But they would have posters up of like a pretty girl. The girls would have
Yeah.
a picture of a band they like in their locker.
And then also you just share with me too is that you met your wife. Can you share that story?
Oh, sure. She went in her freshman year, went to a different school her sophomore year, but after a morning practice, you had morning practices in sports then too. So you get here like at 6 o'clock. But that's when classes began at 7:30.
Okay.
Yeah, so
First
first period
period?
began at 7:30.
Okay, so it was way early. Now
Way
we start
early.
first period at 8:30.
Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah, but and a lot of kids bust in then too. I don't think they even. Yeah,
I think probably the sped student
the
bust
special
in,
ed
but I
students
think
bust
it's
in,
rare.
but a lot of kids bust in then
I
too.
see.
And I saw her get off the bus, and I told my buddy Jaime, I'm going to marry her, and I ended up marrying.
You
that
did marry
girl.
her.
Yeah.
So then your wife also came from Westminster High School.
Yes. Yeah. And we still see a lot of friends from Westminster High School, all my best friends. But as most students do, a lot of them have to move from California to afford a house nowadays. Things like that.
So how come you didn't move, or what kept you back at Westminster High?
We were old enough to be able to afford a house, a big 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom for $220,000.
As your parent bought the house, right?
Right. But no, we bought ours.
Okay,
for
you got bought,
$220,000.
yeah.
My parents went here. You put $1 down payment on a house in Westminster. They drove out from Maine.
Oh, I see.
Because my papa came over from Italy to Maine, the closest state. And then you heard about California, $1 down payment, you can have a house.
$1 down payment.
Down.
And the house, what was the cost for the house when they bought?
$45,000.
$45,000. And how many rooms was it, Jim?
3-bedroom, 2-bathroom. And that's right in the middle of like Little Saigon, Westminster, between Newland and Hazard, between Newland and Magnolia. Yeah.
So then you never had an opportunity to leave Westminster?
I didn't want to, you know what I mean? Kids were on the street. There was no internet. There was only 5 TV channels. No remote control. If you wanted to change the channel, you had to stand up and change it.
And you still live in, technically, Westminster?
Fountain Valley.
Fountain Valley.
Just right on the borderline, yeah.
Okay. And then after high school, what was your journey like?
I was very lucky. I planned on being a teacher my whole life.
Okay, so you didn't knew you wanted to be a teacher?
I wanted to be a teacher, yes. Then.
So what pulled you toward being a teacher?
I don't know. I just enjoyed helping, especially the special ed. Even growing up when I was young, 12 and 13, one of my jobs was teaching special ed kids how to swim. I want to bring up, I got a late start in becoming a teacher because I had to drop out of college twice for brain surgeries.
I see.
Yeah. So in the middle of...
Want to share us about your brain condition?
I have a brain tumor.
The first 5 years of teaching, like it really determined how long you will be in this field of work. So what hold you back for 30 years of teaching?
Because they went to a different school. They went to what was called Wintersburg.
Okay.
It's not there
Not there
anymore
anymore.
either, but they had a special school for the special ed students. And here at Westminster, they would have nights where the special ed students came over and learned how to swim.
I
And
see.
I would always volunteer to work with them, teaching them how to swim. And I think that's what, well, across the street from me, I hate to change the subject.
No, it's okay, Jim.
I had a cousin.
I edit, so you don't have to worry.
Okay. I had a cousin who was special ed.
Ah,
She only grew to be about this tall.
yeah.
And she was, you know, she had the mind of about a 10 or 11-year-old. And that's as far as her mind developed.
Yeah.
And so I think tutoring her, teaching her how to swim and stuff, that really inspired me to be a teacher.
To be a teacher.
Yeah, my little cousin Kim.
So where do you go for college?
I went to Golden West first, of course, then Cal State University, Long Beach.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you got your teaching credential.
I got a teaching credential. I taught 1 year in Long Beach, and then it opened up here, and I came here right away, and I've stayed here 31 years.
So what year was that?
Oh my gosh,
A year?
I want to bring up, I got a late start in becoming a teacher because I
Yeah.
had to drop out of college twice for brain surgeries.
I see.
Yeah. So in the middle
Want
of,
to share us about your brain condition?
I have a brain tumor growing in my left temple.
You can see from there, Jim.
Yeah, the hole here, and I have a big scar. That's why I don't want to go bald like Khang.
Oh, okay.
You got to keep that in there, Khang, okay? It's going to be scary.
We will.
I'm going to have holes and scars on my head.
So that you feel like all like indent in your head.
Indented. I'm going to lie to my students and say I got them hit from baseball bats for being a bad student. But
So, so you got your teaching credential and then you came back.
yeah, and when
I mean, it was
up-
open here.
It was opening. There was one opening, and
So that probably in the
1991 or something, right
okay.
about there. Yeah,
Okay.
1991, I'd
Okay.
say. Or I would have got started 25 years earlier than that.
Okay. And you've
And
been there
back
for
then,
30 years.
teachers were different too.
Yeah.
I want to tell a story. All the teachers here, when I went to high school, all had a summer job at the same place. Mr. Pacelli,
Yeah.
Kathy Iverson,
Yeah.
all of them worked at Disneyland
Oh wow.
during the summers. Mr. Wilson, my math teacher,
Yes,
worked
I
the
had Mr.
Matterhorn.
Wilson.
You did too. He
Yeah.
worked the Matterhorn. Mr. Pacelli worked at Pirates of Caribbean
How come is it? Because they know each other and then
because
they.
they need a summer job to get paid during the summer.
Ah.
So the 2.5 months, and Disneyland's more busy during the summer.
Yeah.
So I saw a lot of my teachers from Westminster High School working at Disneyland.
So now us teacher are saying, you know, how our life, comparing to back in the day, I mean, our life's
Yeah.
pretty much
yeah,
pretty lucky. I
yeah,
mean,
we're lucky that
we don't have to worry about summer school.
summer school. We need a
summer
break
work.
though too.
Yeah, we do.
I
need
want
a
to make
break.
sure that's on the TV.
Yeah.
I really think if teachers had to work 12 months out of the year teaching,
Yeah.
we need a little compensation time to relax and lower our blood pressure.
Yeah. So Jim, like, what I know is that people tend to say the first 5 years of teaching, like, it really determine how long you will be in this field of work. So, what hold you back for 30 years of teaching?
I think there's a lot of rewards in teaching people don't mention.
Yeah.
You know, when you go to a restaurant and your student's sitting there being your waiter thanking you, or they just send you an email now, or you see them someplace else and they're telling you how successful they are, they're becoming a nurse, and they thank you that you influenced them. I don't think there can be any greater reward than money or anything can give, knowing you've influenced a student to make it in this life and they're eager to help others as well. Makes a big difference. And I see that. I just went to Michael's, a sports bar. I saw one of my past students. I barely recognized him until I talked to him a little while, but he wanted to shake my hand. He's becoming a nurse at Golden West College's program.
It's true though. I mean, I remember that too, because sometimes like I feel like the students see us, like a lot of time think they afraid that we don't remember them.
Right.
But we actually remember. We might not remember their name because you have 180 students every year, so it's tough to remember everybody's name. But we remember them.
We remember where they sat and whether they were a good or bad student.
Yeah. So speaking of student, Jim, like over 30 years, have you seen any change with the student population from when you start teaching in 91?
Yeah, I don't mean to put down anybody, but a lot
you can
of
be honest.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. A lot of these students are becoming, I hate to say the term Americanized.
How so?
Yeah, well, the Vietnamese held education very, very high, the teacher very, very high when they came over. I remember when I had students they got a B+ on an exam, they were scared their parents and teachers would both be disappointed in them. Now they become Americanized and they've realized that, you know, a C or a B is okay.
Oh, I see. That's what you meant.
Factors like that. And there's always a few students, just a very few though. I'm very glad they still know respect for the teacher.
I see.
In every culture, I think the teacher is held quite high unless they've been influenced in a bad way of some sort. But I think we need to teach basic things to students again, just basic things like what's a mortgage. They don't realize things like just 6%, what a difference it is than paying a 4% mortgage fee. Yeah, just things like that. And our next generation, we used to have, every kid took auto shop, electrical, wood shop. Now to, you know, fix a little electrical outlet, kids don't know those basic things. They can go to YouTube, which is helpful. But I think a lot of them just need to know the basics of how to make an oil change on a car.
Okay.
Things like that.
So like it's like a lack of like having that basic skill of survival.
Yeah, if we went back to the 1960s, I think every man in this world knew how to do an oil change, change the air filter, things like that, you know what I mean?
I guess for sure I'm not from the 1960s.
I
actually don't know oil change. I have to go pay like $50, $60 for oil change.
Right, we go to the quick 15 minutes change now, and things like that.
So in general, that for like all the student. And you were mentioning about the Vietnamese student as well. So, okay, since this is on Little Saigon TV.
Right.
So, what's the change, specific change for a Vietnamese student in the 90s compared to like 2020 now?
Yeah, that's a 30-year difference. And Mrs. Jan, my translator with my Vietnamese that I've worked close to over all 30 years, we're both been a little disappointed recently on some of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They wanted to learn English. And I gotta admit, it's challenging now. You used to come over here, my papa came over here, had to learn English. There was no translator.
Yeah.
There was nobody speaking Italian.
And
you
your
went to the
papa
store.
immigrated from Italy.
Yeah, and there was no TV channel that he could watch. You know, now the Spanish, the Vietnamese, there's TV channels. You go to the DMV, you used to have to take the test in English. Now you choose from 50 different languages, you know, to take the test in. And I think that much more pressure, because you can go to a store now, a Spanish-speaking store, a Vietnamese-speaking store.
Yeah,
and
the restaurant, for example.
Restaurants even, they'll speak, Vietnamese and Spanish.
Yeah.
And I think it's challenging when, even at lunchtime, I know I'm out of this jumping from subject, but I'm disappointed at lunchtime when 3 students are sitting next to each other, all speaking Vietnamese or texting even in Vietnamese, when they used to have to speak in English to each other.
Yeah.
And they wanted to.
Yeah.
They wanted to learn English. I used to joke and try to say words in Spanish and Vietnamese, and it would make them laugh, but it would make them feel comfortable. But I would at least try to show them trying to learn it. Now they just wait for the translator, or they wait to get on their Chromebook. They can take a picture of the worksheet. It translates it into the Vietnamese, Spanish, Mongolian, Russian. Yeah. But I want to bring up I've learned the Russians learn English quicker now than the Vietnamese and Spanish. There's no really Russian translator for them here.
True. And not where we are living now in our community.
Yeah. And I've even noticed that it's funny. When the Vietnamese students go to the wrestling team, no coach will talk Vietnamese in there. They'll ask their friend, what's it called, a switch. You know what I mean? A fireman's carry, these different moves. But when the coach then says the next practice, we're practicing a switch, it's almost like they're forced to learn it. And they remember words like that better than a word, you know, like DNA or RNA. Things like that.
So something that they apply in their life.
Every day, after a week
they care about it. So
they care about it. They're interested. When they're out there wrestling and the coach says, do a switch, they know what it is. If I said, do photosynthesis, they wouldn't know what it was.
So it's kind of like so after 30 years of teaching, if I ask you, what is your philosophy of teaching? Like, what do you think really helped you being a respectful teacher for the past 30 years, Jim?
I think sometimes students knew things.
I thought you were going to say about the moment where the police pull you over.
It is helpful if the police pull me over as a past student. Okay.
So you're saying that we kind of giving too much support?
Too much support.
So then they're not really forcing to learn things.
But I don't know if in the future we're just going to have an earplug where something in our ear that translates into any language we want.
That's true.
I just feel like it's very,
ChatGPT, Google Translation.
Oh, I'm impressed when I see these Vietnamese that speak French, Vietnamese and English, because there's such a diversity in those 3 languages. You know, many words in Spanish and English are almost the same. But when you go from French to Vietnamese to English, I'm jealous.
So this is your opportunity to say something to the parent. Okay, you can say for the Vietnamese parent right now, like, what can they do to help? For example, like the parent that have English learner as for their kid that are English learner. What would be your suggestion to help them learn English fast?
I say you don't let them to listen to so much Vietnamese. Try to make them use their English. And if you could, even another language they can use. I don't think they know too, Khang, and you do. They realize many jobs pay more if you're just bilingual. And what a difference on an application for a job. If you can sit there and say you're fluent in Spanish, Vietnamese, and English, you're going to get a job anywhere in California.
You have a higher
you can sit there and assist. And there's many jobs, just not teaching. We don't realize. I think Starbucks and In-N-Out pay more if you can prove you're bilingual. Just things like that, little factors. And be able to travel the world. Luckily my son Zachary is fully bilingual in Spanish. So when we travel, we like to go with him if we go down to Mexico. I can speak a little bit, but he can speak it fluently and read it and write it. So things like that make a difference in life.
So if I tell you about technology, how do you think that have affected your teaching career since the beginning to now, like technology?
I think it's a proven fact already. Just the simple thing of reading from a textbook compared to an iPad or a Chromebook or computer, the mind focuses more. When they're looking at their iPad, they're seeing the games they play on it. They're knowing right then they can push a button and it translates it. The textbook, looking just the textbook, won't translate it. You're not worried about social media. You're not worried about whether friends like your new shoes or not. I think sometimes they're more worried about whether they get enough like on their new tennis shoes than learning the concept being taught by the teacher. So I think technology has somewhat hindered their learning ability and the progress, especially of learning a new language.
It's kind of like the pendulum in education, like it's like a clock, right? It changed back and forth. A couple of years ago, we can agree that it's like a push in technology, having every kid have a Chromebook, a computer. But now, I think we can slowly feel the movement is heading back to more like paper and pencil, because there's just so much distraction on a computer. I mean, we barely like fighting with them regarding cell phone. And now, you're able to shut down their cell phone, and now they have the Chromebooks, right?
I rag on my students every day when they're on their cell phone. I don't think they realize it. I tell this to my students, they've learned this. They've proven now that when somebody dies at like 85, they're going to spend 22 years of their life looking at their cell phone
screen.
And they don't think about it now, but I think when we're on our deathbed at 85 years, you look back and say, I wasted 22 years looking at my cell phone screen.
So after 30 years of teaching, if I ask you, what is your philosophy of teaching? Like, what do you think really helped you being a respectful teacher for the past 30 years, Jim?
I think sometimes, I know we have our subjects to teach. Math teachers are supposed to teach math, English, but we gotta sort of filter in some common sense daily issues and correlate it with our lessons. You know, we can sit there and say photosynthesis, you don't have to know it in detail, but we should know how the plants, how much they do for us when it comes to producing oxygen, how we get them to make the proteins for us, and try to implement daily things into every lesson. How they're going to use math when it comes to buying a down payment on a home, a mortgage. And we're supposed to learn from history too, so you can implement it into every lesson, something they can use in their life. Every person can use in their life, whether they're a carpenter, a doctor.
So like more application type of
thing? I think we could, definitely.
After 30 years of teaching, what is your most memorable moment being a teacher?
My most memorable is seeing that student's brain and they come up in maybe their sophomore year. I got to admit, some students take longer till they understand, I need to be able to read and learn and write if I'm going to make it in anything. You know, even if you're a mechanic, you got to read the owner's manual. This car's a different make than this one. I've got to learn what the difference. But sometimes it takes them their junior or sophomore year they come to you, I understand now, Mr. Mancini.
Ah.
I should have been doing better. I'm doing better now. I'm going to graduate. I have plans. I have interests. And we need to have them focus on what their interests are. Because I've had many students and even friends that despise going to work every day for 30, 40 years of their life. They've got to find something they enjoy doing, and it'll make their whole life better if they look forward to going to work every day. Because I'm excited to go to work each day to teach students new things.
I thought you were going to say about the moment where police pull you over.
It is helpful if the police pull me over as a past student.
Oh.
Okay.
You want to share that story?
Which one? I've been pulled over by
The one where they follow you into the parking lot and you just walk into work. That's what I heard. It has to do with the medicine, right?
Right. Yeah. For a while, I couldn't drive. My wife would take me to work. I would go over to my parents' house in the morning to care for my father, who was 100% disabled.
Yeah.
So I would help care for him in the morning. And it was finals week. My mom was driving me, and I was a little bit late, so she was speeding. And I got pulled over. I told her to go to the parking lot, so it looked like we were running away from the police.
Oh, I see. I see.
And I got out of the car.
Okay.
And my mom got out and said, I'll pay the ticket. We were speeding.
Yeah.
But the policeman told me to get back in the car.
Oh, I see.
But the bell had already rung. I was late to my class for finals. So then Mr. Bocelli, a fellow teacher, even stood up and said, Mr. Mancini needs to get to his class. The bell rang. The bad part was students started to circle around.
I can imagine.
And then some of them started yelling, do we need to jump the police officer? I was going, no, students get to class and stuff. And it just got out of hand. And I ended up being taken to the police department he wanted me to get back in the car, because I guess even if you're not driving, they want you to get back in the car. But eventually, they just said, you have to go back to the Westminster High School. The students are defying going to class. They were saying free Mancini. I think it was just a purpose for them not to go to class, honestly. But I just came back and and it all went smooth.
Okay, see, that's the thing. Yeah. So I also noticed for you rarely work. I think you never taught AP Science honor. So what's why? Because you've been in it for many years. You definitely have the seniority or the right to choose to teach those level of courses. But why do you?
Because I really enjoy teaching the LEP students, because I know it's changed, but they were challenged, and I knew that. You know what I mean? They go to some classes.
And LEP students are limited English proficiencies.
Yeah, some teachers are talking English just at a slow pace. These are new words, and I just could comprehend that, to slow down, to infilter using their primary language and their secondary language to learn this new language. And I was very excited they wanted to learn English and they wanted to learn science.
Các em học sinh thân mến, các em có sẵn sàng để nâng các kỹ năng của mình lên mức cao hơn chưa? Hãy sẵn sàng đi, bởi vì học khu trung học Huntington Beach đang bổ sung thêm các lớp giáo dục kỹ thuật nghề hay CTE trong niên học tới. Cho dù em thích về kỹ thuật, y tế, kinh doanh hay các ngành nghề khác, đều sẽ có lớp ưa thích cho mỗi người. Các lớp CTE được thiết kế để cho học sinh có trải nghiệm thực tế trong đời sống. Hãy tận dụng cơ hội này để phát triển các kỹ năng đáng giá, giúp các em chuẩn bị cho sự thành công. Các lớp CTE sẽ khác nhau tùy vào các trường trong học khu. Em nhớ hỏi chuyên gia hướng dẫn của mình để xem các lớp nào được dạy ở trường em. Đừng bỏ mất cơ hội này để khám phá về các đam mê và tiềm năng của mình.
Now with the computer, they don't have to rely on the teacher or translator so much, which they can benefit from if they want to use it to learn English. But sometimes they're using technology never to learn English, just focus on their primary language.
I see.
But even 10 years ago, they didn't have it where you could take a picture and it would translate everything into it. Now you have artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
They just go to GPS, ask it a question, and they can tell it to answer it to them in English. even though they're speaking Vietnamese to it,
Yeah.
they can say answer in English and it will write out the answer for
I
them.
see.
So I just think it really slows down their progress in their secondary language.
So you enjoy working with...
Working with them one-on-one,
Yeah.
I enjoyed them saying the word wrong even. And trying to get them to say the word right
I see.
and pronounce it correctly and things like that.
The reason I'm asking because I know that I'm sure there might be audience or people with family member that maybe they had you because a lot of the Vietnamese population when they came here, majority are English learner, and if they went to Westminster High School, I think probably the high chance that they had you. My
Yes.
brother had you,
Yes.
and I know that multiple staff here had you.
Oh yeah, just
Yeah.
Elizabeth who was in here.
And one of my
had me.
student teachers, she said that she believed her aunt, so Kate and Win,
Yes.
well, just your student teacher too. She said she believed her aunt had you as a student, but her aunt is too shy to
Right.
tell her that, but I think there's a high chance that somebody watching this, they might have had you as a teacher.
You know what? And I've never even told this story. I don't know why it came up now, Khang, but you asked me why did I want to be a teacher and teach CELEB students. And it reminded me of a story my papa would tell me. His favorite, he would travel, he was a merchant marine.
Okay.
He loved to go to Hong Kong and Vietnam and stuff. Do you know why though?
Why?
He would go out to eat and all the people there would pay for his meal to teach them English.
Oh, I see.
And that was neat. He would sit down at the dinner table and they all wanted to practice their English with him. They would sit there and say chicken. And he would teach them how to say chicken properly. But they would all buy him his dinner and stuff. That's how bad even in their countries. He would love to go to Japan. He would love to go to Vietnam because they would all want to learn English there in their own country even. And that just reminded me how excited they were to be able to buy dinner for a person that would teach them English. Yeah.
So last question I have for you,
Yeah.
Jim. So after 30 years of teaching, what do you think you will miss the most when you officially retire starting
to be
next
honest, I'm a little scared of it.
year? How come?
Because I got to admit, after 2.5 months off each summer, I know I still want to be a teacher because I start to look forward to seeing new students, to seeing their ideas and seeing what they're interested in and if they want to learn. And I'm going to miss seeing a student's hand raised with interest, asking a question I know the answer to, and seeing their excitement when they learn from that. That's probably the most rewarding thing, just seeing their face and excitement with a question related to the topic we're asking. Okay.
That's true.
True.
So any plan for retirement?
I'm going to try to travel a little bit. I have been even traveling. I hate to admit this to all the parents out there.
Hey, you're retiring. After 30 years of teaching, you have the
I
right.
had over a year of sick pay.
Sick pay you have to use, right? It was gone.
So I went to Italy already and Japan already. So I got to use these up. But I'm going to try to see, I'm eager to go to Vietnam because my translator, my students all told me where to go, what to do. They just warned me of the humidity there sometimes to go in the right months.
Yeah.
So they've been even teaching me where to go, places to stay, and stuff like that. So I'm really looking forward to traveling.
Okay, Jim. So thank you again for spending your time to talk to us and share your story.
My pleasure.
30 years of teaching. I mean, 30 years a lot. I mean, I'm only in my 15 years. I feel like a lot already.
I hope I'm allowed to go to your retirement party.
Yeah, how can you? I don't think I'm going to be aiming for the 30 years, but try to aim as much as possible. But again, thank you. Being a very supportive neighbor, next door classroom, and also my former teacher as well, and many other people that might watch this on Little Saigon TV, that they're former LEP.
Hey, all my former students out there, I hope I feel rewarded in teaching you something, whether it was about life or biology. I just hope I influenced you in some way.
So if you watch this, anybody watching this from now on to the end of the school year, come by and say hi to Mr. Minson.
Yeah, I want to get it through to all my past students. I'm retiring, you guys.
Yeah.
If you're not here by, what's
I'll share
our
on
last
YouTube
day?
too.
Yeah,
So
what's
they'll-
our last day? June
June
12th?
June 12th. June 12th. Okay.
Any of you out there, please come by and say goodbye to me, because I might be moving out of Westminster when I retire too.
You're gonna travel the war.
Travel, we might move to Nevada where one of my sons is at, so
Oh,
last
okay.
chance, please come by and reward me.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jim.
Okay,
All right.
thank you, Khang.